Greetings and welcome to October 2020. We've made it this far. It's been a pretty stressful, scary, all-around weird year for everyone. And we're now in the spooky month of the year. So if you're a fan of Halloween, horror, anything like that, I think a lot of people always look forward to October. Fall in general, it's a really nice season. It's always nice out. Nice cool breeze in the air. And I decided to do for this video a list of the scariest scenes in movies that I've seen. Not every single movie on this list are horror. Some of them are suspense, drama, but I think the vast majority of them you would definitely classify as horror. I decided to do this list because I've always been into spooky, scary stuff growing up. I loved horror movies. I loved anything supernatural, reading books, reading true ghost story books. And Halloween, I love dressing up. I love getting chocolate and candy. Any movies that do appear on this list are going to feature spoilers, so if the movie comes up that you haven't seen, then maybe you can just skip it. But I do recommend every single movie on this list because they're all bona fide classics in my opinion. Before I get started, actually, I just want to say hello to any new subscribers. I've gotten quite a few in the past little while. Some videos I did months ago with my friend Luke, some Neil Young and Bob Dylan videos. Got a lot of comments, so people seem to really like those. So if you're new to the channel and you like this kind of content, hello and thanks for watching. So I'm going to start with number 11 and work my way down. This originally was going to be a top 10 list, but number 11, I just didn't want to cut it, so I just decided to throw it at the very start. But I did kind of rank these in terms of the most scariest being near number 1, so I kind of went a little bit in order. But this is one of those lists where any of them could be the top spot depending on how you're feeling or whatever. They all convey different moods and atmospheres, but I just decided to rank them in a certain order of, in my opinion, the scare factor or how they've affected me. So number 11 is the climax scene from the movie Mother, which is directed by Darren Aronofsky, stars Jennifer Lawrence. The final, if you've seen this movie, the climax of the scene occurs when Jennifer Lawrence and her husband, Javier Bardem, they live in this old house in the middle of nowhere. They have this nice dinner ready to be sat down and eaten, and all of a sudden people start appearing at the house. And this happened a bit earlier in the movie where there's like a funeral scene or a wake scene. And the way that these people just kind of appear in the house is, it gives you this really nervous form of anxiety and tenseness and just frustration because you feel exactly how Jennifer Lawrence is feeling. She just doesn't know who these people are. She wants them out of her house. It's like if you've ever had a bunch of people over your house, if you've ever had a party, you feel kind of overprotective of your own property and your house and your things if things are getting out of hand, or if you've been at any place where there's a big party and things are getting destructive, it starts to feel a little invasive, like that people are like actually fucking with you personally instead of just a space or an area that you're in. But anyways, in this house, more and more people keep coming, and it just eventually turns into this just all out like nightmare-like scenario where there's literally hordes of people from all different types of people from all different areas and backgrounds, and there's just different things going on. There's like a rave and a dance going on in one room. There's people getting like assassinated and locked up in another room. There's war, there's cops, there's protests, there's people just doing that are tearing the house down. It's literally gets out of control, and it's literally anxiety inducing. I was literally physically sweating while watching this movie, while watching this scene. I was literally just sitting there being like, what am I watching? I had no idea what was going on, what was about to happen. I just felt nervous. I felt like the tenseness was really having a physical reaction on me. I can't think of many other movies that have actually held, like I literally felt suffocated watching this movie, watching this scene. So yeah, and it's the whole climax of the movie. It's a good probably the last 20 minutes or so of the movie. So it's an extended scene. It's a long one. But I put that at number 11 because I didn't want to cut it. It's not a normal type of fear or terror you feel watching a movie. It's not necessarily scary. It's just very intense. It's literally in your face, just pushing you deeper and deeper into the scene, and you just feel like you can't breathe. So that's number 11 for me. Coming in at number 10 is another semi-recent, this one's more so of a horror movie. And it's It Follows. It's the scene in the movie where the main character, Jay is her name, right after she first gets this spell or this disease or whatever you want to call it that lets her see this thing that's coming at her, that lets us see this thing that's following her, that's coming to kill her. And it's when she's sitting in school. I think she's sitting in like college or university, and she's sitting in a classroom, and she's just kind of looking out the window, and she just sees people kind of sitting on the grass and walking around, but something catches her eye, and it's this old lady walking slowly towards her in like a hospital gown, and she's just slowly walking towards her, slowly lumbering towards her, no emotion on her face, and you can tell she's just like, am I really seeing this right now? She's looking. You can see in her, you can just tell that she knows that that's what it is, that the woman is this thing that's coming for her. And it's just the way the scene is shot. It's just this, the music is slowly like getting louder and louder and building up, and it's just this dead look in this woman's face and her eyes as she's just walking towards her. And then Jay gets up and leaves the class, and she's walking down the hall, and all of a sudden you see the woman come around the corner, just in like out of focus behind her. And she just goes and she's about to leave the school, and she turns around and she sees the old lady, and the old lady's just so focused on her, so walking towards her. No, like I said, no emotion, nothing, just one goal on its mind, and it's to kill Jay. And it's just, I don't know, something about this scene just disturbed me and unsettled me so much. Like after I saw this movie, I remember walking down the street where I used to live at night, and like I saw someone going for a walk or going for a jog, and just seeing a silhouette in the distance of someone coming towards me. It's like I just kind of got the heebie-jeebies. It's just a normal person, but I kind of got that spooky feeling. And and I'm a man. I'm a male. I don't typically feel scared to see people at night while walking, unlike some things that some women have to deal with walking at night, or even in the daytime for that matter. But this movie, and it's an allegory for different things. The director has said, I don't think he said it's straight up an allegory for an STI, but like most horror, there's a lot of different hidden messages and metaphors that what things stand for, what they could mean. But anyways, that scene just really, really got under my skin. So that's number 10 for me. Coming in at number 9 is a classic. The first time I ever saw this movie was on TV. It was a Sunday morning. I remember it was like late morning. It was on TV, and I remember being like, whoa, it's kind of crazy this movie's on TV. But it's Night of the Living Dead, the original, George A. Romero. And it was one of the first old horror movies I'd seen. I remember seeing like The Wolfman and Frankenstein and Dracula on TV when I was a kid. But this was one of the movies that was like a straight up like scary, like violent horror movie that I've seen. The movie didn't really scare me as much. It kind of unnerved me a bit. Like I said, it was the late 90s, so I was around 10, and I don't know, something about, there's a scene in this movie, and the scene that I'm using for this example is when the mother, there's a family and a bunch of people in this house that are hiding from the zombies, and the daughter gets bitten, and she's down in the basement, and then the mother goes down to check on her, and the daughter has turned into a zombie, and the mother's just like trying to talk to her as if she's still her daughter. She's like, oh, my baby, my daughter, come here, come to mama, or whatever. I can't remember what she's saying. But you can tell she knows that the girl's a zombie, so she just is refusing to believe it. But she still wants her daughter to come to her, but she's kind of, you can tell she's like, that's not my daughter, but I still love you. And the girl's just walking towards her with this look on her face because she's a zombie. She's just like, I'm going to eat you. And then she suddenly just picks up a spade, like a garden spade, from the wall, and then just walks over to the mother, and the mother is backed up against a wall, and she falls down, and then the daughter just slowly over and over stabs her in the chest with the spade. And there's blood, and it's black and white, so it's not super red. It's not red, but it's dark black colored blood. And the mother's screaming and screaming, and like I said, I watched this on a Sunday morning on TV when I was 9 or 10, and it really bothered me. It really disturbed me. I remember me and my sister watching it and I was just like, I want to turn this off, but I was so into it because I loved the movie. I was just like, this is the classic zombie movie. But I don't know, something about that scene really stayed with me as a kid. So that's my number 9 is Night of the Living Dead. Great movie. It's public domain, so you can watch the entire thing for free on YouTube as well. But just that scene, especially seeing it so young, really creeped me out and bothered me, stuck with me. For number 8, we have a semi-newer movie. This was released on Netflix a few years ago, and it's a Stephen King adaptation. I actually never read the book. I'm a big Stephen King fan. I read a lot of his novels, but I have this one, but I've never read it. But it's called Gerald's Game. It's directed by Mike Flanagan, who has done a lot of great horror movies as of late. He did another really great Netflix show, The Haunting of Hill House. But every movie he's done that I've seen, I've really enjoyed. So the basic premise of this movie is a husband and wife go to a summer home as a getaway, and one thing leads to another. They end up having a special moment in bed, and the husband handcuffs the wife as he's trying to do like a little bit of role playing. He ends up dying. He has a heart attack and he falls over and dies. A lot goes on in this movie. It's the whole thing. I was creeped out and frightened quite often in this movie. There's quite a few scary scenes, but the scene I'm going to mention in this movie has to do with the main character, played by Carla Gugino, who is trying to escape from the handcuffs on the bed. It's attached to the bedpost, or the rail on the bed. And she has a piece of glass that she breaks. There's like a glass of water she breaks on the nightstand. And she takes a broken glass shard, and I'm not going to show this scene. Like I'll just play some footage from the trailer because I just refuse to watch the scene ever again. I normally gore doesn't bother me. I mean, depending on the gore. I mean, the more realistic, the more it bothers me. If it's just cheesy kind of comically done gore, then it's fine. But this one has to do with a thing. It's there's a medical term for it. It's called degloving. I highly suggest you do not Google this. But she essentially pulls her hand out of the tight handcuffs by essentially I don't even want to just it literally makes my toes curl and my like skin crawl. Just I literally was watching the scene like this. I was like I don't know, I never do that for movies. I never do that to hide from gore, but I literally was like I can't watch this. I can't look. I had to look. I think I was going like this, looking at my girlfriend at the time who I was watching it with. I was literally just like, I'm looking at you. I can't look at this. And I saw enough of it to get a feeling, but it just made my stomach turn. I was already highly disturbed by this movie, so this is the only entry on the list that's actually just a pure gore scene or just nasty feeling. And it's like it's something no one would ever want to have to do themselves, have to deal with a severe injury like that and have to actually go through with something like that. And I mean, obviously there's tons of movies where there's scenes like that where there's a severe injury that makes you kind of feel, a certain way. But this movie is very scary as well. I found it very tense, very eerie. And there's a lot to this movie. I highly suggest you see it. So anyways, that's number 8 is Gerald's Game. It's the hand scene. Number 7 is a movie from Thailand called Shutter. I actually kind of briefly talked about this in another video that I did months ago about some cult movies that I really like. This scene is the ending of the movie, so I mean, big spoiler alert for the movie, but essentially a man is kind of haunted by images of this girl that he keeps showing up in his pictures that he's taking, and he starts seeing the ghost of her. One thing leads to another. It's a whole movie's worth of stuff, but it's basically the climax of the movie. So, at the start of the movie, or throughout the movie, he keeps feeling like his shoulders are heavy, and like he goes to see a doctor, and they're like, "Oh, you've gained a bunch of weight and all this stuff," but he's still the same weight, basically. As this girl is haunting him all throughout the movie. At the end of the movie, he's in his apartment and he's taking all these pictures with flash because he's kind of having a breakdown, and he's just like, where he knows she's somewhere around him. He eventually sees the pictures developed, and you see it's a photo. It's like he throws the camera on the ground and it takes a picture of him as he's kind of standing and the camera's on the ground, and you see something on him, and it's the girl that's been haunting him this whole time, the dead girl, and it's literally her sitting on his shoulders. It's her legs drooping over him. And it's just like the final reveal of the movie kind of thing. And it's just like, it just kind of makes your stomach kind of sink. And you're just like, I don't know, it just bothered me. Like the movie is really good. It's very sad. It's very haunting. Man, makes you feel a lot of emotions, but the final reveal is just like, I don't know, it's almost like a revenge. She got revenge in the end, but the feeling of just the sight of it is just what kind of gave me the willies, basically. And then there's the final scene with him in a mental institution at the end of the movie, and then you see his reflection in the glass, and you can see the girl on his shoulders again. So it's just like the shock of the ending, as well as just like the haunting feeling of it, is what made it go on this list for me. Number 6, we have another classic black and white movie that's also on the public domain, so you can watch this one for free on YouTube as well. It's called Carnival of Souls. I seen this movie quite a few years ago, and I really, really, really liked it. It's just a very simple plot of a woman who she gets into a car accident, and she just starts seeing these haunting visions of this person and these people everywhere. It sounds similar to the last movie I was just talking about, but very different. So she keeps seeing this man in a suit everywhere she goes, and there's just something about this man that he's not overly scary looking. It's made in the early 60s, so it kind of has like a campy kind of feel to it, but I don't know, it's just very effective. Like the just like the independent kind of low budget look of the movie and feel of everything, like the shots, the music's very creepy. It's very like the church organ, because she's an organist. But the movie ends with her going to this carnival. It's like this place on like a waterfront, and it's abandoned. It's like an abandoned building that's like that used to be like a carnival or amusement park, and all of these other dead people are all slowly dancing together, and they like basically beckon her to dance with them, and she runs away, and they chase her. And then there's a final twist reveal of them in the movie, so I won't spoil that. So you can just watch that. You can watch, if you want to see the movie, you can watch it. But anyways, this whole movie just kind of, it's not the scariest thing I've ever seen, that's for sure. But I just like the look of it. It's like sometimes something doesn't have to scare you to be scary. Like you're like, this is creepy. This is creeping me out, but I'm not scared. I'm not gonna have nightmares about this or whatever. But just, I don't know, just the whole creepy black and white look to the movie. Like the black and white really sells this movie. Like it's not, it doesn't hinder it in any way. So I just wanted to put that on this one on the list, because it's always stuck with me. Like it's not the scariest thing I've ever seen, but it's always stuck with me, is like the look of this movie and the feel, and this final scene at the amusement park. It's just such an effective setting for the ending. So that's number 6. So at the midway point of the list here, we are at number 5. So this one is from the movie Cairo, which is Pulse. It's a Japanese movie. This one is, I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it, it creeped me out. It definitely creeped me out. Then the second time I watched it, it more so just depressed me. It's a very sad, depressing movie. Hard to recommend. It's not something you really want to go out and, you don't want to watch it and then go out and do something with your day. It just kind of makes you feel sad, and it's depressing. I can't really recommend it, other than the fact that it's a very well made horror movie. It's just very down movie. It's a downer movie. It's sad. It's very nihilistic, but it has to do with like technology and how it makes people feel lonely. And this was made in the early 2000s, so really when things were starting to really ramp up with the internet and technology. And the scene I'm referring to mainly is the scene where there's a man. It's like about 20 to 30 minutes into the movie, where a man goes into this room that has been taped off, because I think the way that they tape off, if I remember correctly, they tape off rooms that people have been killed in, but that are also haunted, something like that. Anyways, it's like a gateway to the ghosts or whatever. He goes into this room, and it's a dark room, and he sees this thing on the wall, and then it's just like the scene is so dark and stuff, but like it's just creepy. Like it's just complete utter, and like he turns around, and like you just barely see through the darkness this person standing in the shadows behind him, and it's this woman, and she slowly starts walking. It's like the way she's moving is not how people move in their normal speeds. Like he's moving normal speed, but she's walking towards him like it looks like someone pressed slow motion on her. Like she's just like walking through molasses, and she kind of has these very weird otherworldly jerking motions and wobbly motions to her, and there's this haunting score, this haunting music that plays during this scene. And there's no jump scares, there's no gotcha moments, there's no anything. It's just like this creepy, haunting, like get me out of here right now feeling that this scene has. And it's so dark, so it's like you're kind of squinting to see it, just like the character is, kind of thing. And it's just something about this scene stuck with me. This movie really stuck with me. I probably never want to watch it again because it's just depressing, but this scene really sets the mood for the movie and gets you kind of ready for what's coming, kind of thing. And it's just a really scary ghost scene. It's like something to do with the feeling of like a ghost. Like I feel like that's how a ghost actually would move in real life if you were to see a ghost. It's like they actually portrayed it very effectively. So that's number 5 for me. Okay, number 4 is a John Carpenter movie. I actually talked about this one in that other video I did as well, the cult one. The cult movies one, but this is Prince of Darkness. The dream scene, the dream transmission scene that occurs between multiple characters in the movie. It's like they go to sleep and they witness this. It's like a handheld camera, VHS tape footage kind of thing, found footage kind of thing. And it's just like someone at these gates that are in the front of this building, and they like slowly move through the gates. And there's this door that's opening up in the building, and there's like a light shining through, and you see smoke, and you just see this person, this figure, this thing that's just standing there. And like it shows it multiple times. It runs through the footage a few times throughout the movie, and each time the person becomes more and more clear until it actually turns out to be one of the characters in the movie. But the reason I have this so high is like it's a good movie. I wouldn't put it anywhere near top of like a top scary movies of all time list. It's just a good horror movie, but it's not, the movie itself isn't very terrifying and scary. It's just the dream feeling of these scenes. Like it's just like when you have a dream or a nightmare and you wake up in the morning and you're kind of just like you're picturing parts of it, and it's like everything's kind of weird and off feeling and fuzzy, and you're just kind of like, oh, I thought I saw this person, but they didn't look like that. They looked different, or something was off. And like just the slow reveal of this person's in each time that runs through the footage. I don't know, something does it for me. It's like I can just see that scene. Like I'll watch it on YouTube, and it's just like that can just be its own short horror movie. Like it doesn't even need the rest of the movie to be creepy and effective. It's just like a weird short sequence of scenes that all combine into this one found footage kind of little thing. That's why I really like it. And I put it high because I don't know, it just does it for me. I really like it. I just think it's so effective. So that's number 4. Okay, here we're at the top 3. These scenes are, it's like when I think of a scary scene for me, I just always think of these ones really. Like it's like these ones kind of do the perfect, all 3 of them kind of have the perfect feeling of just pure dread, terror, and creepiness, that it's like they stick with you. Like they're all 3 of them are very well filmed, very well shot. They cover all the bases for me. So number 3 is from Hereditary. Hereditary is still a kind of new movie. It only came out 2 years ago, but I saw it in theaters. I was very excited to see this movie, all the hype surrounding it, and throughout the whole movie I was just, what is going on? I'm freaked out. I was on edge. I was nervous. I was kind of like on edge. I was sitting, I was kind of gripping the armrests, like what's about to happen? Like I just felt so off that whole movie. And the final 10 minutes of the movie where everything just completely goes off the rails, when the son wakes up in bed and the house is just completely dark and quiet, and he goes out in the living room and he sees his father burned on the ground, his corpse just completely burned, charred to a crisp. And then you see Toni Collette, the mother, just like behind him a little bit, like just up in the corner, out of sight. And you're just like, is that, you're kind of looking, you're like, is that, what am I seeing right now? Is that her? And then he turns and he sees this man. He turns around, he sees this shadowy man, naked man standing in like a room, in a closet. And the man's just smiling at him. And I was just like, okay, what is happening? And then she just appears out of nowhere and just chases him all the way up the stairs into the attic. And the music is just like going crazy. And you're just like, oh my God, you're freaking out. And he runs into the attic and he shuts the attic door. And like the actor who plays him, I think he's probably 19 or 20. He was probably 19 or 20 when he filmed this, but he's playing a high school student. And, you're calling if you have a mother, you're not calling her mommy at this point anymore. You call your mother mom or whatever else. Mommy is what you call your mom when you're a child. And he is so scared that he's like pleading. He's like, "Mommy, mommy, like, what are you doing? You're my mom. You're my mommy." And she climbs the attic. She's literally attached to the ceiling by the attic. Like, the attic is one of those lift up ladder attic stairs that you pull up. And she's attached to the ceiling, just banging her head on the door as fast as humanly possible, like in a way that humans would never be able to move their head that speed. And it's just bang, 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 bang. You think it's her fist, and then it cuts to her, and you see her, and she's just banging her head furiously on the door. And that right there just made me kind of sit back, take a deep breath, and just be like, oh my God, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it just made me kind of just gave me all the chills. So anyways, that's number 3 for me. I can just picture that scene, and just knowing, like, especially the whole family dynamic in that movie, like just knowing that that's his mom that's doing that. Just terrifying shit. So that's number 3 for me. Okay, number 2 is from a very talented filmmaker, not known for making horror movies, but a lot of people will agree a lot of his movies have very scary, eerie, tense moments in them. That's David Lynch. The movie's Mulholland Drive, and the scene is the diner scene at Winky's Diner, which is probably within the first 20 minutes of the movie. So there's these two guys that are sitting in a diner having breakfast, and one of the men seems kind of on edge, and he hasn't even touched his breakfast, and he's like, yeah, the reason I wanted to come here is because I had a dream about this place last night. And he starts describing to this guy that he's with about this dream, and he's like, we were here, except things were off. You were here, but you looked different, and you weren't, it's like he's basically describing exactly how a dream feels. If you ever have a dream about a familiar place, but it looks slightly different or slightly off, or something, like a door is in a different spot, or the lighting is different or something. And he starts describing going behind the diner and seeing this person behind the diner, and he gets more and more scared. He's like, I hope I never see that face as long as I live. And then the man gets up to pay, and then he kind of looks and he realizes, oh, this is exactly like my dream. It's like he's having deja vu. If you've ever had a feeling like that where you feel deja vu, and it's like, did this happen to me before? Was I in this exact spot in this exact location, or was this something that I thought I dreamed, or that I thought I remembered? It's like, it's kind of a mind fuck kind of thing. And it's in pure daylight, it's just the morning. It's like sunny. It's like they're having breakfast. There's all these people around. There's nothing scary, or like it's not a haunted house or a dark night or anything. It's like a very familiar, welcoming feeling that you should have in this place. And so they go outside, and then the guy he's with is like, we need to go behind the diner to see if this is real, if this actually is your dream. And so they go behind the diner, and it's just this slow, dreadful walk to the back. They go down these steps. They go down past through this little alley, and you're just like through the parking lot, and you're just like, what is going on here? You're a little scared. Like the guy, he's sweating. He just has this he's like, please don't make me do this. Please don't make me do this. Anyways, they get behind the diner. There's a set of dumpsters, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of a jump scare. There's not like this big bang sound or like music cue or whatever. It's just like this, like, boom, like this big, there's the person. They were there after all. And it's this face, this person pops out, and it's like this woman who has like this long dark hair, and her face is all burnt looking. It's like she just was burnt alive or something. She's like completely all crusted and scarred and dirty, and like, but she's human like, but she doesn't look human. Like, she looks like she's, I don't know how to describe her really, but it's just this face, and it's just, and the guy, like, she just appears, and the guy just drops. It's like he drops dead from fear, falls into this guy's arms, and you never see the guy for the rest of the movie. And the movie goes on. It's an amazing movie. I love the movie. A lot to discuss with the movie, but anyways, that scene will always be one of my all-time favorite scenes, and just that every time I see it, every time I watch it, it just feels like a dream, exactly, like a nightmare, I should say. Like, it's just like a waking nightmare, like a dream, like what is happening, like the feeling in your chest of like this something that you would never dream of being real happening. So that's David Lynch for you. He's I could only imagine if actually did decide to make a horror movie, how truly terrifying that would probably be. So my number one spot on this list belongs to a classic horror movie, one of the all-time classic horror movies, The Shining. I saw this movie when I was in high school for the first time on TV late one night. I'd heard about it, but I'd never actually seen it. So I was in my basement and I was watching TV. It came on. Something about it just made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, the goosebumps. I just felt like the movie's so effectively made. It's, so much has been said about this movie, but the scene I'm referring to is when Danny, the young son, is on his tricycle going around the hallways, and the camera's following him behind him, and it's just going down the hallways, and then all of a sudden he goes around this corner, and the two little girls, the twins, are just right there. And then you just hear this sound. It's like a gong. It's just like, boof, like they're just right there, and then Danny just freezes, and it's just his face. And then the little girls are far away, and they're kind of out of focus a little bit, and you can kind of see them, and you're just kind of looking at them like. And you see them before in the movie a little bit. When he's in the kitchen, you see them, and you don't really know if they're ghosts or not, like because he sees them. This is when the hotel is still open, but now that the hotel has been closed for months and they're there all alone. I don't know, something about this scene has just always been the scary scene for me. It's just like when they start saying, "Come play with us, Danny, forever and ever and ever," and then it shows the cut of them all in the hallways covered in blood, and they're dead, and there's the axes and stuff, the axe on the ground, and it's just I don't know, like this. It's just filmed so well, like the music, the creepy reverb on the little girl's vocals. Little Danny's just sitting there terrified, and he's just like, his eyes are bulging and he's covering his face. I mean, great movie. It's always been one of my favorites, but I just remember seeing this late at night and just being like, I'm officially terrified, There's actually a great video on YouTube by a YouTuber called Super Eyepatch Wolf, where he talks about the artwork of Junji Ito, who's a great horror manga artist who does out of this world horror illustrations and stories. And he actually does a video on him, and he talks about seeing Twister as a child, and the scene in Twister when they're at the drive-in and The Shining is playing. And he talks about seeing that scene in The Shining, and like he kind of described kind of how I said, like just that feeling of like, what am I looking at? Something feels off about this. Something's just, I don't know what this is. Is this a dream? Is this kind of, I feel like a lot of the theme of this list has been a lot of dreamy feeling, nightmare feeling scenarios. If you go back, if you look at a lot of the entries, it's like a lot of them have that feeling of something's off, something's not right, something feels otherworldly or dreamlike or something. And I think that's a pretty good description of horror for me, is that like in a normal scenario, something goes wrong or is not right, and you just can't really put your finger on exactly what it is or why something is off. You just know it's scary. And I've thought long and hard about why I like horror, why I like scary things, and I'm not one of these people that I love these like disgustingly gory like torture porn, as people call them, horror movies. It's got to have a good plot. There's got to have like there's got to be good reasons for why the movie exists. Like it has to have a good story. It has to have like the feeling of terror in horror movies should be thought-provoking, and there should be meaning behind it. I guess I should say, like, horror shouldn't just be gory for the sake of gory and violent for the sake of violent. Like, you can, like, there's slasher movies can be scary because it's someone killing you, like people are being murdered. That's scary. But something about just the getting inside the human mind and the human psyche, and just knowing what makes people's skin crawl, and like what can get under someone's skin and really just truly disturb them. I think that's just kind of like the feeling of horror that I like just knowing everyone has their own little phobias, but there's phobias, there's fears, irrational fears that everyone shares. Whether it be someone following you, someone literally stalking you, Hereditary and Night of the Living Dead, like being murdered or chased or killed by a family member who you love. Carnival of Souls and Cairo and Shudder, it's just like being followed and haunted by a ghost. Ghosts, we don't even know if they're real or not, so it's all up to interpretation. But anyways, I'm rambling. That's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out all those movies. That's all I gotta say. Happy Halloween. Hope you're doing great. Hope 2020 hasn't been too rough on you, and stay tuned to the channel. If you want to see some more videos, give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. Leave a comment. Have a great day.